Great Scott. Great Scott. Great Scott.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V. Thanks for watching. We saw the release of a video talking about Brainiac with Goyer and Jeff Johns talking about how he had to be the villain, the big bad for the series. When they talked more about it, they realized this was the way they had to go. We see the Skull ship, we see Brainiac himself, and then a few days later, or the next day, they actually released a trailer proper, although I thought the video with the trailer footage was good enough when they were talking about how iconic a villain Brainiac was the day before. But then they released a regular trailer with words on the screen and Collector of Worlds stuff and Kal-El, your world will end, or the House of El, or Son of Krypton, or so I assume he's talking to Seg when he says this. But the same sort of dialogue we all recognize from comics in the future when Superman is Superman on Earth, and when he comes across Brainiac, it's the kinds of things he says. And the thing that I'm most impressed with, and of course we haven't seen it in action, and we don't know what it's going to be like. The problem with sci-fi up to this point, and I've seen some articles saying the rebranding of sci-fi, the reboot of sci-fi, the relaunch of sci-fi, the new direction of sci-fi includes Krypton, a sort of reboot for the Superman universe, in that we're seeing Krypton and a lot of characters on Krypton and how Krypton operated in those days, 2 generations before Kal-El was actually born. But it's interesting that they're calling it rebranding of sci-fi, rebooting of sci-fi. I haven't really heard any of that officially until the last couple of days. I've been looking around, and I've started to see in some other areas that this is being called a reboot of sci-fi, which could be very, very good news, because sci-fi up to this point has always been the place you go when you want campy, cheesy B and C and D movies that they made just for their channel. A spider attack in Tokyo Part 2, or the lizards who came from the toilet, or Sharknado, that kind of thing. So when I heard a year ago that they were making this Krypton, I was trepidatious, because sci-fi has always kind of been known for that. But I know in the last few years they have released a few sci-fi shows, and I don't mean sci-fi, I mean sci-fi science fiction shows, that I tried to watch 1 or 2 of them, and they weren't nearly as bad as what sci-fi used to be, with the camp dialogue and the cheesiness and the silliness and the bad acting. But now, if they're rebranding, rebooting, and Krypton is one of the major push shows to do that, this could be really great for Superman fans and for fans of good sci-fi television, because maybe sci-fi will move in that direction. I'm sure that they see that other networks, almost every network there are making original programming, and a lot of it's really good, and a lot of it is invading the award shows, and the networks, the regular networks, are annoyed because all of these cable channels and cable networks have been garnering a lot of the awards. Now, sci-fi won't be rated R, won't be like an HBO or something, because it's still a part of a lot of basic cable lineups or regular extended cable lineups. But the great thing about this, if they are rebranding and rebooting, is that we could see some really great shows, and Krypton could be set to be the first one of them. And seeing this Brainiac footage when I started this long diatribe, it really impresses me how he looks, how the ship looks, when it's reaching out with the tendrils and it's trying to grab the planet or grab people, and he looks great, and the makeup looks great. It doesn't look like makeup. He looks like a green-skinned alien, you green-blooded, green-skinned alien, you. But, and he looks dangerous, and he looks scary, and he looks imposing, and this is the Brainiac I think everybody wanted to see when we were talking about the Justice League movie or a sequel to Man of Steel. It's going to be a problem if they do make a sequel now to Man of Steel, unless they connect it up, which they're saying they're not doing right now, to not have this Brainiac, if it goes over as well as it looks like it's really gonna. And I'm really excited about this Krypton. I'm really looking forward to it. This Brainiac looks like an imposing villain. It's unfortunate that it's not in a Superman set story, but at least it's in the Superman universe, and we're going to see more of Krypton, which is something I've always wanted to do. I love to see the background history. I love to see a real planet, a living, breathing world where there are people, and there's a society, and there's jobs, and there's soldiers, and there's architecture, and there's technology, and we see that. We saw some of it in Man of Steel, a lot more than we saw in the original Donner film, so I was happy there. But mostly it was this sort of falling apart world where they all lived underground and everything was on fire, but at least there were animals, and there were beasts, and there was technology. Here, it does look like there's a lot of underground stuff still going on. It's very kind of dark hued, as if they're underground. But there are ships and things flying above the ground too, so I think we're going to see some of that as well. I have a real good feeling about this, and let's hope I'm right. Thanks everybody for watching, and remember, always look up in the sky.